Everyone, thank you so much for being here. My name is Tyler Sumala. I am the founder of Growth Attack, which is a newsletter that shares snackable growth hacks for busy architects to help them, improve their businesses. And I'm here with Clifton Harness, the CEO of TestFit, and we're here to talk about what is next for TestFit and architecture. So we're going to be talking about a new product that TestFit is releasing called Urban Planner today. But before we jump in, Clifton, for everyone here, for all of those hundreds of people here, can you just give us a quick overview of what TestFit is today?
Hey, yes. So TestFit is a feasibility company, primarily focused on building the TestFit software. We, for the most part, have spent the last 6 years on commodity architecture almost exclusively. What you've seen from us is like parking lots, multifamily buildings, industrial warehouses, parcels, the kind of stuff that has a high amount of volume in planning. And up until today, like we've never given anything away for free. Like we've had a free trial, but we've never really promised a free anything until today. I guess we were a very expensive, very niche company up until today.
Up until
Yeah.
today, big
Yeah.
news. All right, he's already teasing it. He's already teasing it. But I'm not gonna let you I'm not gonna let you give away all the goods just yet. But let's give a short explanation of what Urban Planner is, which is what we're going to be talking about today, and then we'll kind of go back and talk a little bit more about the common challenges that everyone in this room is probably facing today.
Yeah. Urban Planner is a focus on feasibility from maybe 10,000 feet instead of from like 5 feet. Um, so that is to say, like massing, getting order of magnitude numbers for not just one site, but multiple sites. Um, and then also taking a much more stringent kind of approach to how it's planned out over time. So like phasing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so we have some tools that will enable, that kind of workflow to be more useful inside TestFit. And for the most part, like we've always been feasibility focused, so this really doesn't change our mission. Um, and so Urban Planner, if anything, it's just one scale up. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we've been always been at the building scale. Okay, what about the block scale? What does that look like?
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exciting. The chat is lighting up. People are excited about this. Yeah, so as I understand it, right, TestFit has been really great with granular details. To this point, that's what it's been focused on. But now we are, as you say, scaling back. We're going back, and when you scale back, you also make that product much more valuable to people just beyond that niche that you were talking about. So I think we'll
Yeah,
probably
so
dive into
like
that later. But
you kind of asked what it was, but here's the intent behind it. Like TestFit's mission is to reinvent the development process for the betterment of our future communities. And we do that through a product, right?
yeah.
How can you do that? Well, how can you do that if you're only serving apartments and warehouses and parking? Um, so like we could take a look in the mirror, like, okay, well, we have, I don't know, 60% of the app that we've built that we could basically give away for the other, 80% of the market that isn't where we're making our money. So that's sort of the heart behind it.
Yeah.
And we have a lot to give. Like we have
Yeah.
a big following, and it's time for us to democratize access to a lot of the powerful tools we've built.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. Love to hear that. 2024, we have an amazing company like TestFit that is willing to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, this is our mission statement. We're not quite following it. How can we make one small adjustment and actually democratize that effort?" So that is really exciting. Let's take a second and go back, Clifton, and just talk about you for a second. No, you don't always love to do that, but I have to know because the story is pretty great. You have a background in both development and architecture. Is that true?
It is. My dad's a real estate developer. That side of the family is aggressively real estate development. Um, and
Aggressive real estate
yeah,
development.
aggressively. Like, like when I was like 10, I'm going to job sites and he's explaining to me the turn schedule and, how like the IRR is going to be impacted, like stuff that you're 10, you don't really, parking ratio, unit mix, all this stuff. And
Mhm.
I ended up kind of falling in love with buildings, but I was like, I'm not going to do commodity buildings, Dad. I'm going to go do big fancy architecture, and that was my dream. And I went to UT School of Architecture and ended up uh, leaving to go work for a high density developer that did like big skyscrapers. And like, I wanted to see how hard it was on the development side in the high density world. And to that end, like, I kind of live in both camps, high design and high development. And it's a challenge because like one's utterly completely capitalistic and on the other end of the spectrum, it's, form follows function,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
function, doesn't matter. And form's the most important thing. And like, if you have to live, I don't know, somewhere in between the two,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah. Pulling it as it is. Love that. I do wish that more architects were much more involved and passionate about development because if we can, the more that we can get those two together, I think the better our buildings will be for sure. So that's what I love. This test fit is kind of existing in between both of those. Clifton, if you want to take down the slide real quick while we're just chatting through this, that might be good. Um, or stop the screen share, I guess would be the way to say that. Um, awesome. So, well, let's talk about it. We've got how many are we up to now? We've got 254 amazing architects in this room today. Can you talk a little bit about the challenges that, we're all kind of facing in our day-to-day feasibility work?
Yeah, so numbers, I would say, is the primary challenge. I don't think that the industry struggles to find form or to do form making. And I'm a guy that automates the creation of form. Like,
Yeah.
it's not something that we need to automate. But what we don't have a great connection to is the data. Like, the data isn't out of the box, like readily accessible. And that's really frustrating, or was frustrating to me. And why we started building this was like the data, like counting the amount of parking stalls or the parking ratio or whatever, like while you're designing, is not really a fluid design system. So like, we just tabulate that stuff automatically, so that you can react in real time to what the metrics are saying. So I would just say it's about data more than it is about form making.
Yeah, that makes sense. So the common process today, and everyone drop in your comments if this happens to be true, right? You're doing feasibility studies, you're doing a ton of manual counting as you're putting this together, and you're probably spending hours. I know that we've all probably done that at some point in our career, spending hours counting one by one parking stalls or anything of that fashion. Was that also your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I remember coming in one day after I had, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night, printed out a site plan, counted everything, tabulated it in Excel, you know, exported the schedule, and then put it on my boss's desk. The next morning I come in, he's got a red pen out and he's counting everything. Like, he's checking my work. He pulls out the highlighter, he checks his work. Um, I don't know, like, it was like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna be spending the next 30 years like counting parking spaces. Like, are you serious? It's like just this basic thing that, it feels like computers, ultimately should handle that kind of stuff.
Yes. Yes, that is definitely something that can be automated by amazing tools. And I thought you were going to say that you came in and he had grabbed the red marker and he was already changing the building, so nullifying
Well,
all of the work you had already done, which happens a lot anyways. But I thought
well, I mean,
I thought
you
that's where the
gotta
story
you
was
gotta
going.
check the metrics so then you can then prove that the intern was wrong, right? Like,
Yes, every architecture leader's favorite thing to do is to prove the intern wrong, right? That's why we exist. Awesome. Well, listen, I know we've been teasing it. We've been teasing it long enough. I haven't even seen the tool live. And while we talk about how TestFit is going to be addressing these common issues that we were talking about, all of this manual counting, I think it might be good if you'd be willing to pull up Urban Planner and start walking us through it a little bit.
Yes. All right. So I'll pull up Urban Planner. I'm gonna walk through like our history of what our capabilities are, um, and then we'll back into why Urban Planner is very different. Because we're gonna have to answer this question, I think, a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
gonna I'm gonna be grilling you with that question at least 12 or 13 times today.
okay. So you see my road network here?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So the couple first configurators we released where you can literally generate the building in a second, looks like this, the big wrap, it's got a big garage. Then we did this sort of four-story walk-up surface park, podium configurations where you've got garage below. And then in 2020, right as the pandemic was hitting, we had our double inside the park, not home run when we released hotels. We released hotels and office back to back, which were two markets that just never they're still kind of struggling. And then we have like a townhome configurator. So remember COVID, we started seeing lots of low density kind of explode, and sort of the new urbanist dream was, dead for the moment. And so we built some sort of higher density townhouse configurators, also low density.
Yes.
And then we've
Everybody
got
else in Charlotte is seeing that everywhere. Seeing these
yeah,
everywhere.
yeah.
Yes.
It's like I should be very quick to say like this to some people looks like architecture. Like this isn't architecture. These are like spatial diagrams that are parametric and we generate them, right? Like
Hmm.
so there's a lot of people that are like, "Oh my God, like you generated architecture." Like no, no, no. Spatial diagram so you can get your pro forma closer, to a
Yes.
good answer.
And that's
And
the
so
difference that you going through architecture school now has. Because from a like, oh, cool, we just made architecture. But from an architecture perspective, we say, hold on, hit the brakes. Hit the
yeah,
brakes. There's much
yeah,
more
yeah.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or I mean, spoken in other ways, like an architect might hand a developer a building and he's like, "This is undevelopable," you know. So
Yeah.
there's that spectrum. Um, okay, and then we were able to, so everything up until this point had been kind of like generate, and then you really didn't have a whole lot of manual tools. So here we've got the same sort of townhouse thing, but we're raising the bar. So this is sort of an increase in capability. And then we
And when
included
you say manual tools, you just mean like customization. Is that what you mean when you say that?
like I can
Or
grab this thing and I can
yeah,
like make this from a 8-story townhome and individually inside this one site grab these
sure.
blocks. Like
Okay.
before this, we were like, hey, if you can't change the
You can't do
number,
anything.
like you
Sure.
can't, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we introduced a couple of more interesting. So I'm going to sort of 2D mode where we've got office and parking working together. And here you can kind of destroy geometry and manipulate it at will. Um,
Here it is. This is
it-
starting to look familiar, like all of these viral test fit gifs that we've all seen flying
yes,
through
yeah, like
LinkedIn.
sort of
Yes.
manipulating the stuff in real time in the site. And then let's see, garden apartments. So, here, this is like a very different style where it's like road and then there's building hosted on road and then there's units inside the building. Um, this is like 40% of the US's units are these things. Like this is like what my dad's world is, these garden
Hmm.
apartments. And then uh, parcels. So single family home market exploded because everybody's like, I don't want to live in the city next to all the infected people, I guess. Uh,
Next
or
to all the infected people.
or more likely, oh, I can live anywhere. So you get like cities like
Yeah.
Missoula that all of a sudden have a huge need for parcels. And then placing, the actual buildings on those parcels. Actually, I was going to do a demo on this site. real quick. So TestFit does take in a lot of data, and so some of this data will be included in the urban planner. But here I've got like a flood zone, and I'm going to create easements from that flood zone, and it's just going to kill like half the site. Like you can't build any, anything in that area. Um, this is sort of the automatic tools that we have in the automatic version, but this information and the ability to destroy geometry will be included in the urban planner stuff. So uh, got the footprints, and then after that, we kind of aggressively went after warehouses, which is I don't know, went from like 1% of the market to like 3% of the market. Oh my gosh, it's huge. Uh, and then parcel-based solvers with like surface parking, where you can take like an existing set of parcels and generate geometry on top of it. And then the surface parking solver altogether can generate, I don't know, thousands of units in a couple of clicks. And then last but not least, in kind of the configurator space, is the ability to drag massings on top of the surface parking. So we had built all of this functionality, envelopes, roads, massings that could be used inside the configurators, manual massings too. Like these aren't like automatic, these are like you can grab it and make whatever shape you want, right? Um, so we sort of had all this capability, and all it really took was like, okay, like we'll just care, frankly. Like, let's just care to wrap it all together up into
Mm.
something meaningful. And so here I'm getting into what will be free from TestFit moving forward. So here's just a big fill massing where it's taking a site, it's filling it with 2 levels of retail and 5 levels of multifamily on top. Here's another one where I've put the surface parking lot on the roof, so you can kind of manipulate
I thought that was
some of
green
this.
space for a second. That's the default, right? Let's put
It's
some
it's
trees
a
on the
it's a
roof.
it's trees on the roof.
Trees on the roof.
Yeah, but here the important thing is that we have included in it void spaces. So void, like you can void
Very
out
cool.
anything that you'd like from the massing. Um, and then last but not least, the most complicated kind of massing that we're going to include is offset spaces. So here I have a voided courtyard that has a multifamily offset space attached to it, and it's sitting on top of an easement. And so I can just grab this courtyard and move it around. And then I have a fill type, civic space around it. So, you know, we have a layering feature, we have a voidings feature, we have an offset feature, we have a lot of these kind of features that you would need to get from nothing to some kind of mass. All right, so these are individual blocks, and the last demo I have is to kind of walk through what we envision an actual use case for a big urban plan to look like. Do we have time for that? I think we do. Yeah.
Yeah, go for it, man.
All right. So I'm going to draw a site here just on top of the center lines of these roads.
I feel like I need to be singing some Jeopardy music here or something. Holding
Do
stuff
fill
together.
type solve. All right. So basically, I gave it a whole bounding box. Um, let's see in the site. So here I can change my global setbacks. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. So I have a setback parameter here. I'm gonna do a couple of moves, and just this one edge, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so, well, what if what if I want every single edge in the whole urban plan to follow that same kind of global setback? So that's possible in here, and then I can also like duplicate this space, duplicate above. I'm going to change its type to multifamily, which I'll change its color to so it's more apparent. That's like the worst yellow color I could find. I'm going to drag these. down a little bit in height, and then you can also change the level. So because it's layers, they move this level down, and the retail will pop out above it because it's staying below that layer. So you can use the layering to move the geometry around. And then the one thing that like maybe is even more important is that like all of this information is tabulated in real time as you're doing this.
Got it.
Um, and
That's
then I'm going to
amazing.
show one last feature before we dive into Q&A.
Yeah.
It'll be a void space kind of snaking through this. So here I can add a space. I'm going to change its type to void. I'm going to draw path offset. And then I'm just going to have like fun thinking about how a group of people might navigate through this space. And then I've got to make it taller, little tall. So
Wow.
four objects, an entire master plan of crazy geometry, setting goals realistically for what these sites need to do when they get into the configured setting.
Yeah.
Um, and then we will be giving everything in this last kind of demo away for free. And we really can't wait to see what people do with it. Wait, can we do one more demo? I just got to show
Yeah, no,
roads. Like
keep
I just
going,
got to
keep
show
going.
roads.
I'll just reiterate this is incredible. This is so much value for free, and it really is going to drive home that mission that you were talking about before of, bringing this type of access and improving so many of the challenges that are being faced in the built environment today. So this is great, especially in housing.
Yeah. Um, so roads, let's say you want your parking to be at a 45-degree angle. I just changed that on this database, and then in the site plan it updated to that. And I can also change the type. I can make a big, thick parkway there. And so I got to give a shout out to, I think it's called Street Mix. It's like this section editor for, you can go from this building, these segments, these segments, these segments, all the way to this other building for like street sections in urban planning. We took sort of their idea and just made a plan editor, and then we generate the intersections in real time. So, all right, that's the last
Wild.
demo.
Wild. That's the last demo?
Last
No,
demo.
I
Yeah,
doubt
I'll
it.
stop
I doubt
myself.
it. I
Yeah.
doubt it. Um, That's incredible. All right, so you heard it here. It's been released, correct? Like Urban Planner is here. It's live. It's free. You can go get it at testfit.io and click the try now, I believe, if you wanna jump in while Clifton and I are still chatting here. But Clifton, I'm seeing a lot of questions around like interoperability, basically what happens after architects, produce this massing. Then what do they do with it?
So the uh all of the exporters are free too. So we built all this stuff, right? Like we have a SketchUp exporter, we have a PDF exporter, we have JPEG. You can create views that can be part of your PDF export. We have a Revit plugin, so you can take all the geometry generating this and you can pull it into Revit with our plugin. There might be a couple more. CSV, it's like all the data. If you just want a dump of all of that information per level, it'll spit it out. Um, yeah.
That's
Uh,
awesome. And then I think there's another good one here. It's there's questions kind of coming around floor plans or what things are actually shown in this, but there's one about how are these units calculated? Is it showing corridors and including those in basic calculations?
so in the massing tools, there is a efficiency parameter that you can drop the gross area down to a net area.
Hmm.
And so that's how you would account for corridors. And the configured side, we just generate corridors. Like they're right there in the plan. You can see them. So we support both.
Great. And let's talk about why in the world, and this is I think maybe one of the last questions. Clifton, this is an insanely valuable tool. Why is TestFit releasing this for free?
Yeah, so we figured out how to create a lot of very specific value that developers and architects in those commodity markets cherish and they use regularly. When we look at the capabilities that we have and we see an industry that is being bombarded by lots of different massing opportunities, we have a proven track record of taking massing and doing something really meaningful with it, um, leading to configured buildings. Like, if we get, a bunch of people in here and they're using it for healthcare, holy crap, like that'll be a huge signal to us that, like, hey, we should really start to look at configuring space for healthcare. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
market for buildings is so tremendously huge, and the demand for better tools is so tremendously wide that, like, we couldn't help but try. I mean, like, it's my mission. And if there's going to be startups that come in and say that they are a feasibility tool and they simply provide massing, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and say, like, okay, what else are you going to do? Um, Having a cohesive vision for the future of buildings is kind of important. And just trying to derail, you know, existing software verticals that firms have spent millions investing in for the point of derailing it really isn't, like, great for our future. Like, we have
Mm-hmm.
to build software that slots in into the processes that people are actually using. And I understand that this introduces another possible software, another possible process. But for the people that are using us soup to nuts in the markets where we're going from manual all the way to generating, in some cases, DDs, they're absolutely delighted. And we want to try to continue to grow that into other markets and build a competitive tool that, really does approach the built environment in a different way. Like TestFit's urban planning tools, for the most part, they're subtractive. They're not additive. Like,
Mm.
every other modeling tool out there is additive, and it's because they don't understand the problem. Is you've got a big old piece of cake and you got to cut it up. Like, you're not adding layers of cake
The
individually on individual
parameters, you mean?
sites.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
there's a rant. There's a flat
No,
3 minute
that's
rant.
that's great. That's powerful. That's if you want to go to the next slide, Clifton, I think that someone's probably pulled up the well, maybe not that one.
You
Not that one, but
they
there it
skipped
is.
it.
The QR code. The QR code. Yeah, huge news. So
What's
TestFit
the
is
link?
releasing
Like,
the Urban Planner for free. If you don't want to use this QR code and pull up your phone, you can go to testfit.io and click the try now to get started. Again, my name is Tyler Sula, founder of Growth Detect, and this is Clifton Harness, CEO of TestFit. You're going to be hearing from both of us in the next couple of days. I'll send you an email from Growth Detect, and you'll get an email from TestFit that also includes the recording of this whole thing, as well as any other information that you're looking for as you get started with Urban Planner. Please keep engaging with TestFit on LinkedIn. It is just ripping, just absolutely ripping through there. Everyone loves to see it. And we're so excited. Thanks so much, Clifton.
thanks for your time, Tyler. Appreciate it.